This edition of MacVoices is supported by Smile, the makers of PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro. PDF editing for your Mac, iPhone, and iPad. Learn more at smilesoftware.com. Welcome to MacVoices Live on Facebook. I'm Chuck Joyner, and this is a talk of the Apple community. Folks, this is probably the most special MacVoices Live we've done yet, because we have some very special guests, and that because of the special guests, I'm going to do things a little differently tonight. I'm not going to post the Zoom links in the chat right now for you to join. Right now, this is just going to be a watch and listen. If we have time at the end, I'll post them, and then you can jump in and be live with everyone. And if we run out of time, that's no problem. Just post any questions or whatever into the chat on Facebook. We'll try to answer them or address them as we go. So our special guests are some of the members of the Macworld All-Star Band and their producer, who have put together a lockdown
producers.
That produced a lockdown video that a lot of us have enjoyed. So right quick, go around the room and introduce everybody. Bob, Dr. Mac LeVitus, who really was instrumental in putting this together. Bob, Thanks for doing this.
I just agreed.
You just agreed. Mr. Bryan Chaffin, the man with the hat. Bryan, welcome.
Howdy.
Very nice touch.
It's raining in San Jose.
Mr. Duane Straub. Duane, good to see you.
Hey, likewise, Chuck, and all you guys.
Yeah, and the one of the producers, Mr. Wally Cherwinski.
Hi, guys. He's technically a director.
He's the official videographer.
Yes, official.
All right. He's the man behind the editing. Last but absolutely not least, Dave Hamilton from the Mac Observer. Dave, good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Chuck. This is awesome.
This is so much fun, and I am delighted to have Skylar Hamilton as well, because she had a hand in this too. Skylar, thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
This is great. This is great. So unfortunately, we couldn't get all the members of the band together for various reasons, not the least of which was scheduling. But I was so anxious to get you guys on and just talk about this project and, kind of where it came from. We all get to see the end result, but to talk about the project, what it benefits, and maybe get just a little bit geeky on the production, especially with Wally and Dave. So with that, I'll start, and I'm not even sure who to address these questions to, so I'm just going to throw it out. Where did the project come from?
I'll take that one. I got a text from a listener, I think to this show, certainly to some of our shows, and a longtime attendee of our Cirque de Mac parties, a guy named Terry Austin, texted me. I want to say it was 6 to 8 weeks ago. I was going to look quick and see if I could find the text, but it doesn't matter. He said, we're all locked down. You guys should get the Macworld All-Star Band back together and essentially do what we did. And I never thought it would happen. But we have an iMessage group amongst the 7 of us in the band. And I thought, this is a great excuse for us to rekindle that group. There's always something every 8 to 10 months that rekindles the group. And this was like a great excuse to do that. We were all locked down.
You mean like the farewell tour?
Well, the farewell tour, I happened to be staying in a hotel near not before quarantine, like last summer or something. I was staying at the hotel near where the location of our first gig ever was in New York. The club is no longer there. The cooler, yeah. But I was staying there, and that rekindled. Like, there's just various things, like Bob's, farewell tour or whatever. So I thought this would be great. So I sent everybody Terry's message, and of course we chit-chatted, and then we got to, it stayed alive, and then we got to the point where we were selecting the song, and it just sort of petered out. And it went dormant for about a week and a half, and one of the members of the band texted me. I think it was Paul, and he's like, "Is that thing done?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So I texted the group, and I'm like, "Let's do Feeling All Right," because I figured we needed to make a decision, and there was no way that was going to happen by consensus.
Feeling All Right only has 2 chords.
It's easy. There's a lot of lyrics, so everybody could get a chance to sing a little bit, and yeah, easy song to put together. It was always a song that we played at our parties, but it was a song that we as a band evolved with, and we changed the way we approached it a couple of different times. And so it was like, yeah, okay, like this is the right song. And so we started the project. I called Wally right about then and was like, all right, we're doing a crazy thing and we need you involved. Will you join the band again, for the project? And Wally and I had a Zoom call, and we kind of hammered out some technical details so that we were giving Wally things that were valuable to Wally, and off we went.
And also, if I can add, Bob had tried to get a reunion going on a couple of different occasions, at least twice.
I want so badly to play with you guys live again. You're the best band I've ever been in, and I've been in tons of bands, but I have more fun with you guys. I relate better to you guys, and we sound better than most of the bands I've ever been in. So I just wanted to do it one more time. We didn't get a chance. We didn't get a chance to say goodbye to our audience.
That's true.
And it is important for the folks that might not be familiar with the history of the Macworld All-Star Band that you guys only played at Macworlds.
And we only practiced once a year.
And you practiced once a year. But you're also geographically diverse. I mean, like really geographically diverse. And so it's no small thing. At least some of you have to travel anytime you decide you want to try to play together, except for
all
this.
of us,
except for
maybe
this.
the Californians.
Right.
We did have one exception to that, Chuck. That was when we did the 2014 30th anniversary of the Mac.
we all made our way to Cupertino for that.
Yeah. I would have thought you would. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so, Dave, I guess you just explained why Feeling All Right, why you decided to do that part of the cover.
Oh, wait, hold on. There's more to that song, though. That song is a song we've always played well. Chris is an amazing singer and this fantastic keyboard player. And that song has always fell right into place. I mean, like, even though it evolved the way we played it over time, that song always worked for this band. It was always a crowd pleaser. It is probably the song that is like the most natural for the entire band. Right, guys?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah,
certainly the one that the band members are most proficient at. Certain band members.
Well, especially, I mean, I've been working with Paul to try to help him learn how to play his guitar for 15 years now, and finally, my hard work is paying off. He's picking it up.
We warned him if he didn't come tonight, this would happen.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
We're sorry, Paul. We're sorry. Well, but Paul is,
and I'm going to give you your next vocal lesson on Friday if you're not busy.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But Paul is a professional musician.
Yep.
Brian has been a professional musician as well. Chris is as well, and Dave is. And Duane, I'm embarrassed. I'm not quite sure. Do you play professionally? I know you are very proficient, but are you in bands, active bands now?
I am now, although the COVID, of course, put the brakes on things here. But yes.
Okay, so let's see who've I left out?
I'm an amateur.
You left out Chuck. Chuck was a working professional musician for a long time.
Yeah. So in addition to all the all the tech things that folks know you for, you're out there doing this professionally. So
all but me.
Did that make it easier to pull this off, or this, because this was something completely different?
Duane, Bob, and Brian, I'm going to speak for the three of us. This band comes together most definitely because Dave and Chris and Paul and Chuck in particular are all A-grade pro ringer musicians, and they hold everything together, and
I'm not worthy.
And it is made possible by their skill sets. That's just the
totally.
Fact.
They make us look good. Thank you for saying that. I will say, in putting together Feeling All Right, we have 2 bass players in this band. We also have 3 guitar players. And I got tracks from Skylar and I got tracks from both bass players. And we listened to, and my goal was to have both bass lines running 100% through the tune, if that was even possible. And it was. But one of them needed to be the driving force of this tune. And as we listened and mixed and matched, there was zero question on this recording of this song, Duane drives the bus. I don't know if anybody in the I don't even know if anybody in the band knows that. Duane, I don't even know if you know that. I know that Skylar and I know that.
No, I know now because you sent me the Logic project and I've been goofing around with it.
Right.
So I know now.
You can, right. You can see.
I'm remixing it so that I sing all the lead vocals. And
Sounds good.
I'm auto-tuning me, so I'm, just awesome. I'll send you the mix when I'm done.
That's why I created. That's
I
why
know it's a fun thing because we all sang all of the verses. So in your Logic project, I can just wipe everyone else out for the verses and sing them all, and then I can remix the harmonies and on the choruses and make them sound like anything because we have so much to work with. That's why it's taken me so long. You guys are amazing for getting through that so quickly.
So this is a part, and I'll grab the reins if it's okay, Chuck, because you might not even know that this happened. Please. So as Bob said, we had everybody sing all of the verses. Now, there are 18 lines of verse in this song. So Skylar and I came up here in the studio and we listened. You can tell this part.
It was a very fun day. I think the most important thing I did with this was that I was very non-objective.
Oh, you were objective.
Yes,
you had no politics. That's right.
I didn't really it didn't mean anything to me who's saying what. It was just it needed to be the best voice for the line. So I think that was helpful, but it was really fun. We just listened to everyone's and we had a little chart to see who was going to go where, and obviously we wanted everyone to have at least one line. It ended up being that I think Chris sang the most.
I think that's right.
As well he should.
Exactly.
Chris and Chuck.
Yes, but it was really fun just going through and cutting and pasting and seeing, and then we'd go back and then we had to add Dave in because we forgot, so we had to go back and put him in.
I wasn't going to sing any leads.
I think that would have been weird. I don't know.
I agree.
Right.
You needed to sing a lead.
Yeah. Skylar, I have to ask, what did you sort of stumble on this? Did Dave ask you to be involved, or why would you want to do this with a bunch of old guys like this?
I think we were working. I've been home now since mid-March, so I've been over here a lot with him. It's been really fun. But his band Fling is putting together an album, so I've been working with him on a lot of their tracks, which I think is how it started. And then he was like, I have this new project. And this was so fun. I thought this was fantastic, and it was such a good use of time. And it doesn't really matter to me that it was a bunch of old guys. I loved being a part of the team.
Thanks, Skylar.
Yeah. I like the way she acknowledged the old guys part, but still enjoyed being part of the team.
She did it without rubbing it in.
A lot of class.
Remember, Skylar's the one that built the spreadsheet of judgment that doesn't exist. No one will ever see.
I didn't say that.
No, I know.
Pretty particular of what I said and what I didn't say.
But Dave let the cat out of the bag. Spreadsheet of judgment.
It doesn't exist.
As evidence of the old guys, here Dave and Skylar are the only ones not wearing glasses.
That's kind of surprising, actually.
Yeah, we do both wear glasses.
I was going to say, Dave usually wears glasses.
Yeah, it's true.
He took them off to look younger for the video here. I don't care. Look, what am I going to do?
So let's stick with the music part for just a second. So who did make the final decisions on who got to sing which verse?
Dave and Skylar.
Dave and Skylar were the
band
producers.
Was completely out of it.
Dave and Skylar were the producers. Wally was the video director.
Yeah, with the vocal lines, with most of it, I did not want it to be a dictatorship. I wanted everybody to listen, because this is the first song either one of us has ever mixed from start to finish.
How many tracks were there?
46 tracks and 6 buses in Logic. This was a massively massively complex thing, and it's not the right place to start, except it's a great place to start because I had I learned we both did. We learned a ton.
I've never used Logic before.
But now you could.
Yeah,
totally.
I love Logic.
And being able to play with ideas like parallel compression and bussing things so that like the two bass lines, for example, or all three guitars, for example, we sent to a separate bus so that we could sort of glue them together with some compression without it affecting everything else, so that we had, you know, guitars and then vocals, and then actually we needed another one for those harmony vocals we sang together, you know, we had to do weird things with those to get them placed right. But the only reason that all worked was because we kept sending rough mixes to the group. And, you know, we can't hear everything here. So I would send things out to the group and we would get feedback back. Like somebody would say, oh, I like this. I don't like that. Fix that. Like, okay, great. Something to look at. But with the choosing the vocals, there was no efficient way to make that democratic. And so I knew we just needed to make a decision. And our hearts were pure in that we wanted everyone to shine.
Well, we didn't pick, like, I think we were really intentional to pick, we wanted everyone to sound their best. So we went through and was like, okay, Dave sounds not so good on this one, but this is a 3. Like, he sounds fantastic on this. So then we're going to make sure Dave sings this first. So that's what we did, is because, like, yeah, we want the whole thing to sound really good, but in order to do that, we want every single person to sound their very best. And that just, and like, that's, like, it's fortunate that it ended up being that everyone got a line and then some.
When we finished doing that chart, there was only one line where there wasn't a 3. So we rated things 1, 2, or 3. 1 was, we would have asked you to redo it if you were here in the room. 2 was, meh, fine. And 3 was, that's awesome. And there was only one line where it wasn't a 3. And it wasn't just that it wasn't a 3. It was that everyone was on a 1. Like, we all really munged this one line.
That must be the one I got.
No, it's the one I got, because Skylar and I spent probably another hour here researching all these different versions of the tune to find how that line was sung and who sung it. And, you know,
like how they sung it. It was the rhythm that really got us.
Yeah. And then finally we got it together, and I was like, okay, now I understand this line. No wonder everybody screwed it up. It's weird, you know.
And now Dave has to do the hardest line of the song.
Yeah, but I had the opportunity to do it, like, you know, 10
Apple
times
Music,
over.
right? Isn't that great? You search for Feeling All Right, and you listen to 7 different covers, and you go, oh,
exactly.
Wow, you could sing it like that?
I'm trying to remember.
That's where I picked up that waka waka wah wah guitar sound, was from like the Jackson 5 version or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, that's the way to do this stuff.
MacVoices is supported by Smile, the makers of world-class software like PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro. PDF Pen from Smile just keeps getting better. In version 12.1, they have added page-level support for documents with multiple pagination formats. What does that mean? PDF Pen now handles page numbering and body text numbering consistently, even when there's a mixture of Roman numerals and Arabic numerals involved. PDF Pen Pro also got a new capability in version 12.1 with the ability to modify page-level entries, ensuring page numbers displayed on thumbnails are correct and identical to the actual page number on the document. That's extra important if your document is tens or hundreds of pages long. And those are just the latest in an already exhaustive list of PDF editing features that include everything from the obvious text correction to securely signing PDFs, recording and playing back audio notations, document markup, optical character recognition of scanned documents, and so much more. There are flavors of PDF Pen available for Mac, iPhone, and iPad, so that you can do your work no matter where you are, no matter what device you are using. Right now, visit smilesoftware.com/podcast to find out more about PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro, download demo versions, and do more with your PDFs. That's smilesoftware.com/podcast. And while you're there, discover what Text Expander can do to increase your productivity. Thanks to Smile for their support of MacVoices.
All of that learning that Dave did had a trickle-down effect as well. He sent out notes to our iMessage group, and there were a lot of things in there. The boy had me scratching my head and looking into it deeper, and then I even copied all of those technical notes, and I passed them on to my kid, who does a lot of recording on his computer. I figure he's going to learn some things that way as well and have some good tips for his future projects.
When you have some time, download the Logic project and play with it.
Yeah.
It was the
Absolutely,
I can't get offline.
You should.
say that?
I think Dave and Skylar did just such an amazing job with the audio mix.
Amazing.
And I go back to the days at Cirque de Mac when we were all in that studio and that big room full of people, strange acoustics. And the only sound that we could record was what our video cameras picked up. And that wasn't necessarily the best. You had a lot of room sound and echoes and a whole lot of stuff. And depending on where the camera was, it could have been right next to one of those big speakers. It could have been in the back of the room. It could have been in the middle of a crowd. So you came back, I think the last year, Cirque de Mac, we used 11 cameras. We recorded with 11 cameras. But when you listen to the audio tracks of each of those video cameras, some were good. Well, when I say good, acceptable. And then some were absolutely horrible. And you could do a little bit of mixing with those audio tracks, but there was only so much you could do to sweeten the sound. So you did the best with what you had. And the recordings we did, I mean, you accepted that because you recognized it was a live recording in a room full of people and it was noisy and everything else. But all of a sudden, doing post-production on this, we had this gorgeous sound mix, which is absolutely great. And the other thing I found in post-production is, again, back to Cirque de Mac, you look at the video that we shot then, and it's a video of 7 people playing at the same time. So you're not necessarily focusing on one person or another person. Yeah, you're switching cameras here and there to change the perspective, but you're not really focusing on the musicianship as much. But doing this
probably
project,
for the best.
I could focus on each of the 7 people individually. And in Chris's
each
case,
submitted at least
keyboard,
2.
plus the wider shots. And I think we had something like 27 different video tracks that were recorded and provided.
We're sorry,
so
Wally.
All of a sudden,
I held myself to
begin
just 2.
appreciate the musicianship of these people because you're watching every one of them individually. And that really does make a big difference. Particularly, you watch them play and you listen to this beautiful audio. It's a fantastic effect.
This video is the best thing the band has ever done.
It is a highlight. I don't know that there's any one best thing we've ever done, but
I
it's
have
a
to
highlight.
say the whole Apple 30th anniversary show was
Also a highlight.
Yeah.
I think the first or second time we played Whipping Post is probably
that first night at Broadway Studios, for whatever reason, for lots of reasons, we were all. It was a competition on stage, but it wasn't a competition of animosity. It was like, okay, that guy just did something that raised it up. Now I've got to up my game to that point at least. And it was a night of that where the entire band was just pushing each other further and further. And it gave you the confidence to be like, well, that guy's going to do that. I got to push and I got to take a risk. And I think that's what you're talking about, Bryan, is that moment in Whipping Post.
It worked.
That moment in the middle of the tune, but at the end of that build up where everything stops and Chris sang it and, he hits that, sometimes I feel, and it's a high C. And no one knew, including Chris, whether he was even going to attempt that note or if he was just going to kind of navigate his way around it, which he could easily do. We've seen him do. But of course, he went for it and nailed it. And that was it. Like that fueled the band with energy through the rest of the night, too. So, yeah, that was pretty good.
I've chased that version of Whipping Post every time we played Whipping Post.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't get back to that. Yeah. No.
That was a one-time. That was like lightning striking.
Plus, it was our first time at Broadway Studios. So we went from playing, we were always in packed clubs from when we were doing Cirque de Mac. But, the place we were in before that, what had gotten too small because we had a 2-hour line out the door, but it held maybe 250, 300 people. That night, hopefully the fire marshals, I think the statute of limitations
they don't
passed.
care.
Yeah, we had 1,100 people in a 700-person room that night. And so there was a lot of energy. It was all positive. Like it was never a risky 1,100 people, but it was a lot of people. Yeah.
Let's go with that, Dave.
I have to tell you, I was there that night. In fact, I'm sure I shot some video of that.
You were one of the cameramen.
Yes, and I tell you what, no kidding. I'm not a musician, but I recognized what happened with Whipping Post, because it was when Chris hit that note, I think a shiver went through the crowd. It was absolutely amazing. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
It was a lot of fun helping Wally out, with the cameras, for the live shots. He gave me one, and I'm up on stage, and I was able to look right down the strings of, Paul's guitar, or probably Bryan and Bob as well, but as an example. And so, while Chuck was playing bass, I could do the camera, and I think we swapped off. Chuck took the camera when I played bass. It worked out really well. It was a lot of fun.
We never tried doing a song with both bass players live, but maybe we should.
Be interesting.
Ask the sound guy.
Skylar, can we do that?
I had the benefit of tweaking EQ so that there was no mud. Live, that's not necessarily.
Yeah, you made that work from one of the earliest mixes that you sent with both of them. I mean, it was the basses were never like trotting all over each other.
The two of you played really. I mean, you didn't do it together. You recorded your tracks without either of you hearing the other, but you both played parts that were either the same or complementary in all but like one, maybe two measures where we had to mute one instead of the other or whatever. But otherwise, like the parts really complemented each other. So then it was just a matter of, okay, let's decide who's going to own the bottom and then who's going to own just above that in the EQ range so that they aren't fighting with each other. And we just EQ'd things and fit them in, and then we glued them together with some compression, and off we went.
I listened to it critically to see if I could hear two bass lines, and I can't. I can't really tell. I mean, I can tell maybe sometimes that there's too many notes for one bass player.
Right.
But most of the time, it feels like you're just hearing one bass line, which is
not Walk on the Wild
awesome.
Side.
It's awesome.
Well, and nobody overplayed. Like it wasn't like you guys, kept. I mean, this is a simple song. And we all kept the groove simple, which is what it needed. So
yeah, and with Chuck and I together, I'm still not sure we put in as many notes as Carol Kay did on the original version of that tune.
I hate to break it to you, but neither of you is Carol Kay.
Yeah.
So I
ask your grandparents.
A third of her.
Ask your grandparents.
So I want to go over to Wally for a second and find out. There are two questions I really had, Wally. First of all, did you give the guys instructions on any camera angles or anything like that you wanted? And then second, how did you come up, or why did you decide on I will, for lack of a better term, I'll call it the featured player in the middle, or featured singer, or whoever you were featuring, and then still having everybody around the outside?
Well, as Dave mentioned, I had a chat with them, video chat, and we talked about just before the recording began, and Dave said, do you have any suggestions for what we should do when we record? First of all, I thought we should record in 4K. Now, we weren't going to produce a 4K product in the end. It was probably going to be 1080p, but by shooting in 4K, later on, I could do some cropping if I needed to. If the framing wasn't quite right, I could crop and then export, and I wouldn't lose any resolution. So that was one thing. The other thing I was really concerned about was syncing, because when you have all of these different camera angles and camera footage, if you can't get it in sync, you've got a mess in your hands. So Dave's concept, maybe he can just describe it a little bit better. It was a click track to get everybody playing at the same time. And the other thing was, before anyone started recording, they would either make a sound or clap their hands, or like Bob with a clapperboard or something to produce a sharp sound at the beginning so we could sync all of the video tracks. Secondly, I talked a little bit about framing. So if everybody could record a little bit of themselves and then have a look at it to see how the framing was, that would be a good start. And then angles. If someone wanted to produce more than one angle, like Bob, for example, gave me a head-on shot and a shot from the side. And Chris, I think we had 3 different angles from Chris, one of the hands on the keyboard, a wider shot, and a tight shot of him singing. I don't care how many angles I have. I can deal with them. In fact, the more angles, the better, because it gives you more variety. So I wasn't afraid of that. So those are really the only guidelines or rules of thumb for the recording. As long as we had the things in sync, I was confident we could do something. Now, at the beginning, Dave said, well, do you know what it's going to look like? I said, gosh, I really don't know, because what we were used to was a live recording at Cirque du Mac, 11 cameras, you do a multi-clip, you change angles, and it comes out looking okay. This way, you could end up with a lot of different angles, which complicates things a little bit, but as long as they're all in sync, we're fine. So then I thought, how are we going to make this attractive? And I looked for examples online. One of the things I saw was the Rolling Stones. They had a One World Together at Home recording. And it was just a screen split into 4 subframes, and each of them were playing in a different frame. And it was okay. And you kind of forgive it because it's the Rolling Stones. And after all, as long as Mick is singing, the other guys can do whatever they want. Everybody's happy. But I thought that was kind of dull, and we could do better. Hey,
well, they're older
Macworld All-Star Band can do better than the Rolling Stones, can't they?
Right. Attaboy. Now you're on board, Wally.
And the other example
and those old guys
was a group called Playing for Change. These guys are fantastic. And I'll give you the links for the show notes, Chuck. Playing for Change did a version of The Weight, a tune by the band. And it had Robbie Robertson and a Ringo Starr in it. And it had musicians from all over the world. So some in Zimbabwe and Jamaica and Louisiana and everywhere. And they would go through the song and everybody would play a little bit of it and someone would play some instrumental. The editing was absolutely fantastic. And I said to Dave, you know, I really love the Playing for Change version, but I'm not sure whether we could pull that off, but I know we can do better than the Rolling Stones. So the idea was I wanted to give everybody a shot at the middle section. So every time I changed an angle, someone was front and center in the middle. And as it turns out, shooting in 4K made that possible because then I could crop and center everybody. So when I changed angles, they were centered beautifully. And then for the small insets, 8 insets, 4 down each side, I thought that was important because throughout the entire song, you could see everybody playing the entire song. Mm-hmm. So there's Bob from beginning to the very end, and you can
singing
see exactly
every line in my little box down in the corner. I love that part. That's one of my favorite things about the video is if you look closely, I sing every verse because that's what I shot for the video.
But then we switched it up a little bit because we interspersed vocals that, for example, Bryan and Paul did separate vocals. So we threw those into the middle, and they were timed and synced perfectly with the rest of the music. So on the side, you could see Paul playing guitar, and in the middle, you could see him singing, which was an interesting concept. Same with Bryan. He's playing a guitar over here.
Paul wore 2 different shirts, by the way. I don't know how many of you noticed that, but I noticed it. I thought it was kind of jarring. But
I broke the shirt rule, too. Yeah.
I didn't notice it for you, but you're behind the drums.
Right.
Anyway, in the end, I thought it worked out pretty well, and everybody was showcased and very smooth.
Video's great.
You did it, man. It was So
hey, I had the easy part, guys. That was nothing.
I don't know about that.
That's the first part of our conversation with members of the Macworld All-Star Band and the production team that put their new video together. And we'll have more on the next edition with the second half of MacVoices Live. So until then, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.